Hello friends, welcome to this video where we have Donnie and myself, and we're going to be doing a gameplay update 7.21c patch analysis. How's it going, Donnie?
Good. I'm excited for more tweaks, more balance changes, more viability for more heroes, and
Thank God.
more work for me updating our in-game hero guides to the correct patch. Yay. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the patch. We have general changes, which is EXP earned when being denied increased from 30% to 35%. I believe at the beginning of 7.21, this was 20%. Am I wrong? 25%? It's been increased twice.
It's been increased.
Yeah, twice in the last couple of patches. So more and more is Ice Rock trying to not punish people for being denied.
He wants people to fight.
Yeah.
That's what he wants.
Wants people to fight and wants offlaners to be not completely zoned out of lane and obliterated. So let's go into the items. Drum of Endurance recipe cost has been increased from 500 to 600. This is an item that had sort of replaced lads a little bit. That was being bought on a lot of heroes, and so they're just making it a little bit more expensive. It's a very good item for fighting early on, so a little bit more. Just a little smidge tempo control is delayed, right?
Just a little bit. I mean, I didn't think drums was that great anyway. Yeah, I think this nerf, like Vlad's, is pretty effective. Midas, like there's a lot of really good early game items right now, so I think this is kind of a little shitty for drums, but you know, whatever. There's a lot of other early game items that are great.
All right, Hand of Midas has been reduced. The gold bonus has been reduced by another 20. It started out at 200. Now it's down to 160 after a couple of patches. I don't really think this is that big of a deal. Yes, it's an item that some heroes that don't farm very, very well were buying to help accelerate their farm. But the biggest thing with Hand of Midas is that you get to your level 15, 20, and 25 talents more quickly, and that has not changed whatsoever.
That's true, although I do feel like a lot of heroes are buying it because of those things as well as the gold bonus.
Well, yeah.
And I think 40 gold, like it was 200 to start, and now it's 160. I really do feel like the heroes that were punishing this Midas meta will punish it a lot harder now, because you're not just gonna, you know, it's like maybe 5 minutes later you'll have the Midas gold really start to kick in with like a power spike now, and maybe that maybe it's not 5 minutes, but like whatever minute period it's going to take for the Midas to kick in, those heroes that punished it before are going to have even bigger of an opportunity to punish it. So I mean, definitely a necessary change.
That's true.
But anyway, we have
also it's going to be an accidental or somewhat intentional buff to heroes like Alchemist and Bounty Hunter or GPM talents.
Gold
right?
talent heroes. Yep. Okay. Absolutely, because all of the things that you said in your meta report on the Midas are still true. Like there's still very little gold in Dota. It's just now they're reducing another source of gold, which just buffs the other ones. Like we're going to see the exact same thing with Midas happen with all the GPM heroes. Yep. Anyway, speaking of heroes, we have Abaddon. Miscoil damage has been increased from, so basically the most important point here is it's 120 damage at level 1, which in my opinion is very important, because a good build on this hero was to run around and just miscoil people, kind of like a Skywrath mage running around and just nuking people with your Q. You can play like a support Abaddon and just miscoil, and then you can suicide with it as well. So you don't need to run to the tier 2 to suicide. Like this hero arguably is a potentially better Skywrath mage, and with this buff that makes it even better. Like support Abaddon is actually legit.
You just come to lane and you just miscoil over and over and over, then you suicide with it while harassing somebody, and you immediately come back to lane with some items for whoever you're laning with, and you continue to do that. So
exactly.
Would you play position 4 or 5 on Abba?
Same as Skywrath, man. Probably either. You know, either's good. Build Vlad's, build aura items. He's loving it. Alchemist, Acid Spray radius has been increased, and this is something that was nerfed quite some time ago, where the radius was decreased, and having it increased is significant. And the reason the nerf was significant was because you can put it in lane and maybe on a camp as well. You can kind of kite between the camps, where you'll hit 2 camps at once with Acid Spray. It's also something that you could use to zone somebody in lane while farming with the Acid Spray. So like increasing the range on this is very effective.
Yeah, it used to be you could just have it in like the entire lane. It was hard to not get harassed by it. And
right.
It's getting back towards that point, I feel like, because I think it used to be like 550 at level 1 or something like that.
Yeah, it's so tiny now comparatively, or it was before this change. Ancient Apparition, intelligence gain increased from 3 to 3.4, so he's going to do a little bit more damage. Mana doesn't matter that much. Honestly, the damage doesn't matter that much either because he's a support hero. It's a slight buff, but this Ice Blast buff, where the duration was increased from 10 to 12, is quite effective. This spell, keeping somebody at that threshold where like they can't go below a certain amount of HP and they're not getting regen, it's a lot of lost regen, essentially, that somebody isn't getting. Like 1 extra second on this means that if you get hit by it, that's 1 extra second you can't team fight, you can't take Roshan. If you're like a Huskar, that 1 extra second could kill you. I think this is a pretty good buff for AA. This hero's good.
Definitely. And if you look at heroes that are very popular right now, a lot of them have lifesteal built into them, like Chaos Knight, Lifestealer, of course.
That's true.
Potentially the return of Alchemist with the buffs and the fact that he generates gold. So AA is definitely here to look out for.
I love that hero. I think he's super underrated.
Yeah, he's very fun too. Bounty Hunter. All right, agility gain has been reduced from 3.1 to 2.6. I'm actually amazed that they haven't touched anything else about this hero. They just made him not scale quite as well and have slightly less damage as you progress. But this hero is still incredibly good, of course, with the reduction in gold to Midas and just everything else that he does. He's still really, really strong, and I don't see that changing unless they like drastically change things like Janata and like his armor and like his base stats and like various other things.
Everything about Bounty Hunter right now is just so good.
Yeah.
Like they need to nerf a lot in this hero.
Yep, so this is definitely an MMR gaining hero. Broodmother agility gain has been increased from 2.5 to 2.8, and Talents at level 15 has gotten an increase in agility from plus 15 to plus 20. It doesn't seem like huge changes, but I'm sure as a Broodmother player, you might have a couple of comments.
The agi gain is great. I mean, this hero naturally is like one of the best carries in the late game, like traditional carries. You farm incredibly fast, and then you build a BKB, and you basically have a built-in Satanic in your ultimates. This hero is an insane carry. However, I personally think the 15 agility talent, like nobody was going for that because the other talent is cooldown reduction, and cooldown reduction means you have more webs, which means you can get around the map. Cooldown on BKB is lower, cooldown on Diffusal, cooldown on Nullifier, cooldown on basically every single thing that Broodmother likes to do is decreased. And I really think this agility is going to need to be something incredibly high for people to start going for it. But I do think this hero is completely underrated in this patch. The win rate went up significantly with the previous changes to her. So I see Broodmother as an incredibly MMR winning hero right now. In fact, that might be my heroes of the week next week because, I mean, Brood's win rate is super high right now. It's just nobody picks it in competitive. That's all.
Nice. Chen, Divine Favor bonus damage has been reduced from 12, 24, 36, 48 to 8, 16, 24, 32. So basically more than a full level reduction at each level beyond level 1. What it looks like to me, like,
yeah,
if that makes sense. Basically, it's like everything has been pulled back a full level in terms of the damage that it gives. However, non-hero damage multiplier has been increased from 2x to 3x, so catapults are still really abusable with this hero. The bear is still really abusable with this hero. Necronomicon units still really abusable with this hero.
Creeps in lane too. The only problem is like this is a nerf to Chen, of course, because like people are using it on heroes in lane because it's not necessarily about the damage. The damage is great, but it's about like the trading. Like the HP regen on a hero matters a lot. So now like because the HP regen is just wasted on a non hero unit.
Right.
So they just wanted to nerf that aspect of Chen, I suppose.
Oh, I just realized that I'd had something over your face for most of the video. That's okay. We can see you now.
It's good.
All right. Take the next 3.
Death Prophet. Silence cast point has been reduced, which is great because it's an AoE ground targeted silence. All AoE ground targeted silences in Dota are ubiquitously great. The problem just is like you can miss it. Like having a quick silence to combo out of somebody's stun, to combo out of like Yule Scepter, to combo if people are trying to go on you. Like the cast point being reduced is pretty significant. I think this hero is also quite underrated right now. It's getting picked up a decent amount in competitive. Crypt Swarm mana cost has been reduced. This is a big buff. They did this with Leena and Queen of Pain as well with their nukes. It just seems like they really want these like early levels in the lane pushing nukes to not be as punishing to use. Like people just don't use them in the first couple of levels, and that doesn't make much sense to have a game where you get spells and you don't use them because it's just inefficient until you level it up. The 15 talent cast range was increased to 175, and that's the talent people would go for. So these are great buffs to Death Prophet. I think she's probably pretty good.
She's like the lowest win rate hero in Divine pubs at the moment. Lowest pick rate, lowest win rate, something like that.
That's surprising because the people pick it in competitive, especially EG. When they had CCNC, I should say, they picked it. But then again, I don't know if they were winning at that point until they started picking up Viper. So who knows? Elder Titan, Astral Spirit, bonus damage has been reduced significantly. It does half as much damage at level 1. And a large reason this hero is overpowered right now is because his laning presence at level 1, due to this spirit, is incredibly strong. So this nerf to him is pretty big. And now you need level 3 in order to get the second point, which is going to be a little bit less effective than the second point before. But you've half as much damage at level 1, and Elder Titan doesn't really get level 3 quickly because he's a support. So this is a big nerf, in my opinion, to Elder Titan, at least this early game.
Yep. Enchantress impetus damage has been increased. This is like the 3rd patch in a row this has happened or something like that.
I'm loving it, dude. She does so much damage between this and the talent that increases impetus damage. She's doing so much damage. And I believe Dragonlance was also buffed. The range on Dragonlance was also buffed in a patch like after Enchantress was quote unquote weak. So yeah, man, she's chunking out the damage in the late game. I'm loving that.
Yeah, also just remember that Enchant is incredibly good because it purges stuff and it's one of the few purges in the game. So it just kind of like,
too.
Yeah, it just gives a little bit of extra kind of like, yeah, let's pick Enchantress. Juggernaut healing ward movement speed has been reduced from 400 to 300.
Again,
50. Yes, this is the second reduction in movement speed for healing ward. It's much easier to pick off. Honestly, it's already pretty easy to pick off if you have a ranged hero. So it's just getting worse and worse.
Good.
Kunkka Tidebringer no longer provides a bonus on denies. This is like disastrous for Kunkka's laning.
It is. That's why he's a good mid hero, because he can deny with the Tidebringer.
This is actually potentially making Kunkka almost unviable in the mid lane, I would say.
Yeah, maybe. I agree. I'm inclined to agree with that.
Because the only reason that you picked him was because he would dominate ranged heroes with his denies, basically.
Yep. Yeah, he's just an insane laner. Like, that's why you picked him. He's an insane laner that scales pretty well. Like, the hero's pretty good, but like if you just want the hero for the spells, you can get him as a support, Yep. Lifestealer. Strength gain from 3.2 to 2.9. This is great because this hero gets so much evasion. So strength on him is more effective HP, because when you have this percentage applied to a larger HP pool, it's just a lot more effective HP. So this is a good nerf to him, and nerfs his damage too, which he doesn't really build into that many damage. He doesn't really. Okay, he kind of builds into like pseudo damage items, like he builds into like Radiance, which kind of gives you damage, but it's more about like the burn. Builds into like AC, Armlet, which gives you damage based on using the active. But it's not like this guy's not like a Daedalus buyer. So nerfing his base damage hurts him a lot as like a right click carry, or strength gain, I should say, not base damage.
Yeah, I also think that it adds to the nerf to the Midas, because one of the reasons that Lifesteal was so good is that he was just naturally so tanky and got very, very good strength gain. So he was like tanky, got a lot of damage, and you didn't really have to buy stats on him early on, which meant that you could go Midas like every single game and it was totally fine.
Yep,
but now he's getting less tanky and Midas sucks more. So
yeah, that's a good point. Like CK similar, just really great stats all around. Leena Talents, level 20 talent, it has been changed. The Fiery Souls now 30%, or technically it's 30%, but 30 attack speed and 2% movement speed, and then 12% spell amplification to 14%. So just 2 like slight buffs to her. I think she's still not the greatest, but she's a good second to last pick mid hero where you don't know who you're laning against, because she does kind of fine against any of the cancer picks. It's like okay against Brood, okay against Timber, okay against Huskar. So I think Leena's in a decent place right now, but she's not like amazing.
Yeah, she definitely suffers from being gone on, and that's always been her problem. And a lot of the heroes that are popular right now are pretty good at getting on top of her.
Yep, Luna, Eclipse Max Beams has been changed from +1 at all levels, which is great for her. I think she's been getting picked by a couple of carry players and high-level NA pubs. I think she's probably pretty underrated. And just with the change to her aura, like Luna became instantly good. And now like any buffs to her is just pushing her over the edge of potentially being broken. Like this Eclipse buff also makes support Luna better. Because you max out that. More damage, yeah.
Lycan, strength gain has been reduced from 3.8 to 3.4. I didn't even realize that it was almost 4 per level. That's pretty ridiculous.
I think he's one of the highest, if not the highest.
Yeah, this shouldn't actually change too much. It'll make him slightly less tanky, but this hero, he's kind of... It's almost impossible to make this hero really weak just because of how he plays, and it's just so oriented around like just his ultimate cooldown and his cooldowns on his necro books. and pushing towers generally
like the best
alone
tower pusher in
away
Dota.
from his team. So it's like you almost don't really care about his stats, because if you're fighting into people with Lycan, you're generally doing it wrong. Would you say?
Yeah, I think it's like 50-50 that you.
Yeah.
But like in the worst case scenario, you're the best split pusher in the game.
Right.
Best split tower pusher, I should say.
Yeah,
In the game.
and so like, okay, sure, he's going to be less tanky during the mid and late game, but often you don't even get to the late game with this hero. Like if you're playing him well,
Or you don't care because you're split pushing.
Right. Madusa intelligence gain increased from 2.1 to 2.6, so more mana for her shield because they took away that talent at level 20, so she needs extra mana, and also to spam the snake out. Meepo agility increased from 23 plus 1.6 to 24 plus 1.8, so 1 extra agility early on for damage, armor, etc., and getting a couple extra agility throughout the course of his leveling as well. Strength gain has also been increased by 0.2, so just a little bit more damage and armor and a little bit more HP over the course of the game.
Yep. Mirana intelligence increased from 17 plus 1.7 to 19 plus 1.9. That's completely useless, does absolutely nothing. Monkey King Mischief now makes you immune to damage briefly rather than invulnerable. That's great. Now you can stun him. He can't just dodge stuns. Fuck that hero. Strength gain increased 2.6 to 3.0. That's a pretty big deal because remember, if Morphling gains strength, he can morph it to agility. So this is a damage buff as well. This is an agi gain buff too, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Nature's Prophet. Nature's Call treant damage has been reduced from 36 to scaling from 27 to 36. So that's great. I mean, this hero is just insane as a support because you get 2 treants that you can just run at people at level 1, and you do way more damage. You trade way better than basically any other hero in the game, pretty much. And that's why he was being picked so much. In every position, to be honest. He's such a good laner.
Arguably the best first pick hero in Dota, just because you can play him literally anywhere and it's fine.
Yep, all 5 positions. He's going to help you win the lane no matter what. He's going to end up with like 25 to 30 denies if you play him as a core. This is going to make him slightly worse. He's still going to be good, but this definitely hurts his early laning stage. Pangolier, Lucky Shot no longer triggers off of Pangolier illusions. That's a little sad. I like taking Roche by yourself when you're just permanently keeping him disarmed. That's okay. Lucky Shot slow reduced from 40% to 35. It's not going to change very much. He's still good. Lucky Shot is still an insane ability.
It really is.
Phantom Assassin agility gain has been reduced from 3.7 to 3.4, so less damage, less armor.
She's a dumpster, man. Like that hero, it's just Envy picking it now, and I swear, you just lane a Batrider against her. She does nothing. So this is really bad for PA. I think PA is really overrated right now, to be honest.
Yeah, we're still going to see her picked a lot just because like she still crits a lot, but
she's still a pretty stable carry, but she's not she's not cancer tier like she used to be. People treat it like it is in pubs. In competitive, people don't. People just pick it occasionally, like second phase. Yeah. Nobody's first phasing PA anymore.
Yeah, it's still a decent hero. But it's more like Juggernaut tier at this point, I would say.
Yeah, that's a really good comparison. I would completely agree with that. Phantom Lancer, Phantom Rush, bonus agility has been increased. Wow.
Again.
That hero. Sure, I mean this hero has been like he's been strong for a long time, and I think he's okay. I think he this probably puts him to Juggernaut tier as well. Actually, like I think he was pretty weak previously, but with all the other carries being nerfed and him being buffed, like I think he's probably pretty decent now. This is a lot of bonus agility. I mean, 44 extra damage. People max this spell.
Yeah,
so much damage.
I'm so confused with Ice Frog's obsession with Phantom Rush. I feel like it's literally the only thing that he's been tweaking about Phantom Lancer for the last like half year.
Does seem like it. Queen of Pain. Base intelligence increased by 3. So that just gives her, once again, more spamming of her spells in the early levels. Because, of course, the base damage has not been increased. She needs this. Like, if you watch any streamer play Queen of Pain, where they just pick at that one game, they'll be like, oh my god, this hero's mana costs ridiculous. So this is good for that. Sonic Wave damage increased. This is pure damage, remember, so this is great for her. And I think this spell, people are building into Aghanim Scepter, although the Ags damage remains the same. But maybe now they don't need to build into Ags, and they can build other items because the damage is so high.
Yeah, and having that 60-second, is it 60-second cooldown or something like that? Pretty low cooldown. It's really nice, though, with this spell, so any buff to Sonic Wave, I think, is pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, this is it's already a really good spell, like with knockback and stuff. So these buffs are great for her. Ricky, base movement speed increased by 5. I've seen Fear playing this a decent amount recently. He's a 4. So yeah, I think Ricky's probably in a pretty good spot. Like I said in the previous video, I've been thinking of like what are the worst heroes in Dota. It's really hard to think of them because you look and you think Ricky, and it's like, well, this hero's been getting buffed, right? So probably he's just underrated, buffed once again. Like Ricky is probably going to be in a decent place. Remember, movement speed, like when you're running between lanes, that's much more effective for you to get that movement speed. And he builds into phase boots. Phase boots works based off of your base movement speed. So base movement speed increase is a lot for Ricky.
Yeah, and guess what is currently meta? Farming heroes. So that's all Ricky can do. And building Midas also relatively meta.
Yeah.
So all things are pointing towards maybe a little bit more Ricky play. He's still very hard to play just because his laning stage is absolute, like, complete garbage. He's just very hard to actually play in the lane itself if it's like a static lane. He has having
roaming is coming back though, for sure. Like,
exactly. Roaming is coming back, and being able to sneak around a mid hero, for example, and snipe him from behind with an Orb of Venom or something like that is very useful. Sand King, base intelligence has been increased by 3, so just gives him, he's another hero that definitely suffers from mana cost issues, I feel like, and especially I think they increased the mana cost on Sandstorm recently.
he's after they buffed him, they nerfed him pretty hard. Like,
yeah,
in a
they
lot
did.
of ways. I don't personally think this is enough to make him relevant again, unless he's just really good against certain heroes. But it's a nice little touch. They're going to need to do like 1 or 2 more buffs to him, I think.
Shadow Fiend base strength has been increased by 2. This is a hero that's been getting buffed quite a bit recently. Giving him a little bit of extra HP in the early game is pretty important because he's very squishy early on. So a little bit of extra tankiness in the Shadow Fiend could make him more of a target for teams wanting to kind of get that early power spike death ball going on.
Everybody builds Greaves on Shadow Fiend now, so it's good for him.
Yep. Shadow Shaman. Shackle's cooldown has been increased from 10 to 16, 14, 12, 10. So
I don't think that's a big of a deal. You would only use shackles to kill people, otherwise you're spamming Ether Shock. I think this does nothing to him. I think this actually does nothing.
I don't think it changes very much. It's definitely going to make, like, if you're in a kill lane, let's say with like Shaman Ursa, Shaman Jug, you're maybe not able to go on them quite as many times, like quite as often.
It's just like, why were you going on people every 10 seconds? That kind of feels...
Listen, man. When's the last time you played a pub? Everybody just wants to fight all the time. No, I'm just kidding. I agree. It doesn't change a whole lot.
Sniper. Headshot damage has been increased so that it is no longer trash tier at level 1, and it scales by the same amount in the level that you get at level 1. So this is great. So you can go 1 point in headshot. You don't have to go that second value point, although it's still pretty good at the next level. It's just that the level 1 headshot's good. This is great for him because you would always be confused. Like, okay, I want to go 2-2-2, but come on, like I want to get my ultimate. So yeah, this is good for him. Shrapnel replenish rate. When they nerfed this hero and he fell off, it was when they nerfed shrapnel replenish rate because pushing into him was incredibly difficult because you would always have shrapnel up. And if this was down to 45 seconds, you basically have like perma shrapnels on every wave. So 50 seconds is close to that. And I think this makes Sniper great. I think Sniper was good before, and this makes him a lot better.
And he does have a CDR talent, if I'm not mistaken. So this actually does bring it down to 45 seconds. I'm pretty sure.
You'd have to be an absolute madman to not go for that talent. That talent is so good. It's 25% CDR, dude. That's an Octarine core.
Yep.
Spirit Breaker. Base health regen increased. So our tanky boy is now tankier. This hero is going to be obnoxious, running at your lanes, bashing you.
Really good against BH. He's going to be picked a lot. So
and Ricky. Okay, so Storm Spirit, Electric Vortex no longer slows your hero. That's great. You don't have to just use your zip mana when you're Electric Vortexing someone, although the unfortunate thing here is that it's not that big of a deal to use your zip mana when you're Electric Vortexing somebody because you Vortex them, hit them, zip, hit them anyway. Look, you want that extra damage, so that's I don't think that's a big change to Storm, and I mean, I think Storm's okay, but I don't think this changes much about it.
Sounds more like a quality of life change more than anything.
Yeah.
Sven, strength gain reduced from 3.5 to 3.2. I don't know if I can pick this hero anymore. He's been nerfed in like every patch for the last 3 months.
And when he's picked in competitive, he's losing.
Yeah.
As well, mostly, unless you're liquid.
And remember, like, not only was his shield converted to basically be based off your strength, so this even nerfs the shield more, and that ability has been nerfed so much recently. So
yeah,
I would say, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure you could still situationally pick him, but I would probably stay away from Sven at this point. Techie's remote mines cooldown has been reduced from 10 to 8. This hero has been getting buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed and buffed.
Dude, this is great for him. Like, it takes less time to set up that mine stack that's just going to one-hit somebody.
Yeah, and you can actually just team fight with a 700 damage AoE nuke once you have your Aghanim Scepter, which is pretty insane. If you've been watching Zayats play this recently on the Pango, they've been winning, picking techies every time that they can get techies, and he's been obliterating people. It's actually pretty ridiculous. Templar Assassin agility gain has been increased from 2.6 to 2.8, and refraction bonus damage has been increased from 20, 40, 60, 80 to 25, 50, 75, 100. So that's quite a bit of bonus damage as you level it up. I mean, 50 bonus damage is going to allow you to dominate in the laning stage. However, this hero still suffers from the fact that your ancient cap is only 1 now instead of 2.
That's how she would farm gold faster than you, as the ancients. That's TA in a nutshell. So if she doesn't have that, then that's like the sole reason you're picking her.
Yeah, I mean, she still has the 1. Like, when they added this second one is when she was like, oh, cool. But, you know, she's kind of back to where she was a while ago. But one of the big issues right now is the fact that Viper is super meta, and a lot of these dot heroes are super meta.
There's a lot of good dot meta heroes. In fact, I want to mention something about this Tidehunter. So strength gain was reduced, so he's nerfed. And I think this hero's garbage tier right now. Like, I think Ursa destroys Tide. Viper takes off the Kraken Shell. I think that Razor, who gets picked a lot, destroys Tide. I think Monkey King destroys Tide. And I see people picking it. I see people losing with it all the time because of the nerfs to him in the previous patch, like, made him pretty weak. And now, 3.5 strength gain. Like, this hero's even weaker. I honestly think Tidehunter is garbage tier. I really do.
Yeah, I definitely don't think that he's like a viable offlaner. I think he could potentially be like a
support
4 or something like that, running around
in
Gush.
Maybe. Gush is good.
Gush is the only thing about this hero that has been buffed recently. And then the ultimate, of course, like, you could have 0 farm and still hit a Ravage, and it would potentially win you the game. So
yeah, it's true. It's true. It's like, what do you need to do in the game, like, per role?
Right.
And he can do enough to be like a potentially 4, especially because Gush is what matters for that.
Yep.
Troll Warlord, talents, level 20 talent. Damage has been reduced. This hero's been like the carry of the week. I think it's because a lot of the teams that you're seeing picking it have extremely good troll players. I think this is like a relatively specialty hero. If you're good at it, you'll keep picking it. It's not a big enough nerf to stop people from picking it who are good at it. So I don't know. It's just a slight change. I think troll's basically the same.
Yeah, I think that troll's garbage personally, but
if you're not good at it, yeah, it's pretty garbage.
It just gets kited so much. It's always been an issue. It's still the issue. I mean, like you said, there's definitely good troll players out there that sometimes make it work, but I don't know. I feel like I'd much rather just have like basically any other carry that's reasonably good at this point.
Yeah, I agree. Ursa, movement speed reduced by 5. We've seen what the movement speed buff did to him. It was a 15 movement speed buff. I think there's a 5 movement speed buff in like a previous patch, maybe 2 of them. And so reducing it by 5 is a pretty big deal. Like, if you're laning against a Lifestealer now who has 5 more movement speed than Ursa with this nerf, you can't chase him down if he just straight up runs away from you. And if you build into like phase boots and all of these items, and he does as well, you won't be able to catch up to him. So this is actually a pretty decent nerf to Ursa.
Yeah, I think that if it was 10, it would be almost as hard to play him as it used to be. I think he's still definitely viable because 5 still makes him faster than most of the heroes in the game, but he's not faster than every hero in the game at this point. Viper agility gain has been reduced from 3.3 to 2.8, and the biggest one, Nether Toxin AoE damage no longer stacks with itself, and Nether Toxin mana cost has been increased from 75 to 70, 80, 90, 100, so scaling as you level it up. And since everybody's leveling up Nether Toxin to max as fast as possible, this is a reasonably big deal. Because his mana pool is ass. It's actually pretty terrible. And especially if you're going for the build, which is Atos and Greaves, you basically have no mana pool, even though you restore mana. So this is definitely rough for Viper. However, you can just go ahead and go clarity, 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 and still farm your stacks in the jungle and still come out and be pretty strong. So it's not like a dumpstering of Viper, but it is a relatively big deal because Nether Toxin was doing way too much damage, perhaps even unintentionally.
I feel like it was unintentional. I feel like the nerf to poison attack is bigger than the changes to Nether Toxin, just because poison attack was so decent in the early levels in terms of the slow that you would Atos somebody, and then the poison attack would keep them in the Nether Toxin after the Atos was done. But now it's a 10% slow at level
This
1.
is only attack slow, actually. So
oh, the attacks. Okay,
it's only attack slow, so it's not
no big deal.
Yeah, not that big of a deal.
It's not a big deal at all. Actually, I was reading it as movement slow. Yeah, this is good. This is fine actually. Viper's still going to be good in my opinion.
Yep. Windranger Shackle Shot cooldown has been reduced from 18, 16, 14, 12 to 16, 14, 12, 10. Focus Fire attack speed has been increased from 400 to 425.
More damage. Spam Shackle Shot more.
Yeah, it's very incremental incremental buffs to Windranger. It doesn't really seem like it's going to make her broken. No, it just seems like she might be slightly more viable in the long run. Perhaps with another couple rounds of buffs, she might be like a pretty good hero. Playing her as a 4 potentially could be reasonably good, as the Shackle Shot cooldown has been reduced. Running around, ganking with Shackle, but it's not the most reliable stun. So that's about it for this patch. Again, it was 7.21C, and another round of buffs and nerfs to heroes that are being picked either too much or too little. Classic Ice Frog. I like the patch personally. Let us know what you think about it in the comment section below. Let us know. Let us read your tears about nerfing your favorite hero or your
I'm
your
spamming some Abaddon. I'm tearing.
That sounds really fun, actually. That actually sounds very fun.
Dude, I'm so stoked to have another Skywrath, because dude, I play Skywrath and Pudge, and both of those heroes run at lanes and just throw their spells off cooldown. I'm playing the hell out of Abaddon, man. I can do that well.
You finally found your style. It's just to be as annoying as possible.
It's perfect for me, man.
What a surprise.
I do anyway.
All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Hope this patch helps you pick up where you left off and start winning those pubs with some new broken heroes, or perhaps even just continuing to play the ones that are still good. We will see you in another video very, very soon. Good luck and have fun. Hello, everyone, and thank you for watching the video. We genuinely appreciate your time and attention spent with us here on the YouTube channel.